Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of English with Billy. I'm your host, Billy, and I'm so excited to share today's episode with you. Today, we're going to explore some amazing life wisdom from a fascinating man named Dwayne Noel, someone you might not have heard of before, but whose story and insights might just change the way you think about life. Dwayne is what Americans call a horse whisperer, someone who has a special connection with horses and can train them through understanding rather than force. But as I discovered, the lessons he's learned from working with horses apply beautifully to our human lives too. Before we dive in, remember that if you hear any English words or expressions you don't understand, don't worry. I'll explain the important ones as we go, and you can always pause the podcast to look things up. Learning English is a journey, and we're on this path together. Let me tell you about Dwayne. He grew up in Kentucky, a state in the southern United States, known for horses and beautiful countryside. His father was a Baptist preacher, which means he led a Christian church. From the time he was a little boy, Dwayne had one dream: to be a cowboy. And unlike many children who change their minds about what they want to be when they grow up, Dwayne never did. Here's how he put it. Every little boy in this country at a certain age, they want to be a cowboy when they grow up. The only difference with me was I never outgrew it. Now, when Dwayne was 26 years old, he made a big decision that would change his life. He was married with a baby, working in a furniture factory, and he was unhappy. One day, he saw an advertisement in a magazine about an elk hunting lodge in Idaho that was offering to teach people about packing, which means preparing horses to carry equipment for trips into the wilderness. And what did Dwayne do? Something many of us might be afraid to do. He took a risk. He sold everything he owned, put his wife and baby on a plane to stay with family, and took a Greyhound bus to Idaho to chase his dream. Let's pause for a moment and think about that. How many of us have dreams we've never pursued because we're scared to take a risk? Dwayne's story reminds us that sometimes in life, we need to be brave enough to follow our passions, even when it's difficult. One of the most interesting things about Dwayne is what he's learned from working with horses. He runs a school where he teaches people about horsemanship, but he says that's just a springboard for life, meaning it's a starting point for learning much bigger lessons. Dwayne says that horses are like mirrors. They reflect back your own emotions and energy. If you approach a horse feeling angry or anxious, the horse will sense that immediately. Horses are prey animals, which means in nature, they're hunted by predators. So they're extremely sensitive to danger and can feel your heartbeat from several feet away. Here's something fascinating Dwayne explained. Humans are predators. Our eyes are on the front of our face, designed to focus on what we want to get. But horses are prey animals. Their eyes are on the sides of their head, designed to watch for danger. So when a human and a horse interact, they're coming from completely different perspectives. Dwayne says, we wake up in the morning and say, what do I want to go get today? The horse wakes up and says, I don't want to get eaten today. Two totally different instincts. Isn't that a powerful way to think about different perspectives? In our daily lives, we're often like the human, focused on what we want to achieve, but sometimes we need to consider the horse perspective, understanding how others might be feeling. vulnerable, or defensive. This brings us to one of Dwayne's most important lessons. Communication is our biggest weakness as humans. Dwayne explains that when working with a horse, you can't verbally tell it what to do. Horses don't speak English, and humans don't naturally speak horse. So to work effectively with horses, you need to learn their language of movement and body signals. In the same way, Dwayne suggests that many of our human problems come from poor communication. How often have you had a misunderstanding with someone because you weren't really listening to them, or they weren't understanding what you were trying to say? Here's a practical example Dwayne gives about horses. If you want a horse to lift its head, you might think you should pull on the reins to physically force it up. But Dwayne says that's not effective. Instead, he gently bounces the bit in the horse's mouth, making it slightly uncomfortable, so the horse decides on its own to lift its head. The lesson? I don't want his body. I want his mind. If I have the mind, I have the body. This applies so well to human relationships too. Using force or control rarely works in the long run. Instead, good communication helps others understand and want to cooperate with you. Now, let me tell you something really powerful about Dwayne's personal journey. He describes himself as having been a very different person when he was younger. He says he was wound really tight, an English expression meaning he was very tense and easily angered. He admits, I was a different man back when I was raising my children. I had a bad temper, and I was under a lot of stress for a lot of years. I wasn't the calm, laid-back, easygoing fellow that people see today. The turning point came about 5 years ago. Dwayne reached a moment where he looked in the mirror and thought, I will not spend the next 50 years with this guy like I have the last 50. I don't like me. Nobody around likes me. Around this time, Dwayne had a small heart attack. Instead of telling anyone or seeking help, he just went to sleep, thinking, good, I don't have to fight this anymore. That's how unhappy he was with himself and his life. But when he woke up the next morning, still alive, he realized something had to change. He made some big decisions. He stopped watching the news, which was making him angry. He distanced himself from negative people, even family members. He changed his diet. He started spending more time sitting on his porch, smoking cigars, and just letting the world go by. He went back to reading poetry and philosophy. Through these changes, Dwayne found a new sense of peace. He learned that anger doesn't fix anything. It just makes you lose perspective and make poor decisions. This story teaches us something so valuable. It's never too late to change. No matter how long you've been a certain way, you can still decide to become someone different, someone you like better. One word that Dwayne uses often is balance. He believes that many problems in life come from being out of balance in one direction or another. He uses this wonderful analogy about raising children. Raising children is like holding a wet bar of soap. If you squeeze it too tight, it squirts out of your hands. If you don't hold it tight enough, it slides out of your hands. Isn't that a vivid image? Children need both discipline and love, boundaries and freedom. Too much of either creates problems. Dwayne is also critical of what he calls hustle culture, the modern idea that you should always be working hard, always be productive, always be achieving more. He believes this pushes people too far in one direction. He says, young men need to know that it's okay for you to sit down and read and have a cigar and chill and think. At the same time, he acknowledges that some people go too far in the other direction, being lazy and never working hard enough. The key, according to Dwayne, is finding your own balance. Some people need to work harder, while others need to learn to relax more. Here's another powerful idea from Dwayne. Sometimes the biggest victories in life are the small, private ones that nobody else sees or applauds. He tells a story about going out to work with a horse, but realizing he wasn't in a good emotional state that day. Instead of pushing through, which might have created problems with the horse, he just sat outside the pen, smoked a cigar, and then went home. He says, "Did I accomplish anything that day? Number. But I didn't wreck anything that day. And sometimes that's a victory. Sometimes the biggest victory is I didn't make a mess today. It was a good day." I love this perspective. In our social media world, where everyone shares their big achievements, we rarely celebrate the times we avoided making things worse. But these small choices can be just as important. Dwayne strongly believes that a good man is born to serve, not born to make money. When the interviewer asks him what this means, Dwayne explains that making money primarily benefits yourself, but serving others makes the world better. He says, "If I pour my life into as many people as is fitting, and their life is better for me having come through, that means more." Dwayne approaches life with this question: how can I leave people and places better than I found them? He says even small acts of kindness matter, like genuinely asking the tired cashier at Walmart how they're doing. He puts it beautifully. A good man is a man who can protect and who can provide and who can serve, who can comfort, who can reprimand, who can discipline, whatever is necessary to make the world a little better because he passed through. This reminds me of a famous quote often attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson: "To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." That's the kind of success Dwayne values most. Dwayne also shares some interesting perspectives on relationships, particularly between men and women. While some of his views might seem traditional, there's wisdom in his emphasis on understanding and communication. He suggests that men often don't know how to express what they're feeling or carrying inside. He says, there's 10,000 times more going on inside the head of a man than you have any idea. He's carrying burdens that you don't have a clue about, and he doesn't know how to express them. And for men trying to understand women, Dwayne advises, a lot of times they don't want you to fix it. They just want you to listen to them while they take all this boiling stuff inside their head and put it out so they can actually hear it. This is such valuable advice. So often in relationships, we're quick to offer solutions when what the other person really needs is just to be heard and understood. One value that Dwayne prioritizes above all is honesty. He says the worst thing his children could do wasn't misbehaving. It was lying about misbehaving. He taught his children that a man's most important, most valuable resource is his good name. If a man ain't got a good name, he ain't got nothing. Dwayne shares that his father was the most honest man he ever knew, and that influenced him deeply. He believes that when you leave this world, being known as honest and respectable is what truly matters. This reminds us that our integrity, doing the right thing even when no one is watching, forms the foundation of who we are. Dwayne also offers practical wisdom about finances. When asked how he afforded to raise 7 children, he explains that for many years, his family lived on very little money, sometimes as little as $6,000 to $18,000 per year. How do they manage? His answer is refreshingly simple. We say no. We just say no. No, we're not going out to eat. No, we don't need satellite TV. No, you don't need $100 pair of basketball shoes. He drove an old car he paid cash for, rented an inexpensive mobile home, and focused on needs rather than wants. This allowed his family to live within their means and not be trapped by debt. Dwayne points out that many truly wealthy people live surprisingly modest lives. They don't flaunt their wealth with expensive cars and houses. He says you can start at the end by adopting this mindset now, focusing on what truly matters rather than impressing others. As we wrap up our exploration of Dwayne's wisdom, I want to highlight one more idea that I find especially valuable. Dwayne suggests that different people need different approaches to life. He says some people are type A, driven, anxious, always achieving, and they need to learn to relax more. Others are type B, perhaps too laid back or unmotivated, and they need to learn more discipline. The key is recognizing which type you are and finding your own balance. As Dwayne puts it, everybody's balance is different. I think this is so important. We often hear one-size-fits-all advice, but the truth is, we're all starting from different places. The perfect balance for you might look very different from what works for someone else. Before we finish today's episode, let's review some of the key English words and expressions we've encountered. 1. Horse whisperer. Someone who trains horses using gentle methods and understanding rather than force. 2. Springboard. A starting point for something bigger or more important. 3. Wound tight. Very tense or anxious, easily upset. 4. Laid back, relaxed, and casual. 5. Prey animal. An animal that is hunted by other animals for food. 6. Predator. An animal that hunts other animals for food. 7. To be out of balance. To have too much or too little of something. 8. Hustle culture. The modern emphasis on always working hard and being productive. 9. Bar of soap. A solid piece of soap used for washing. 10. Integrity. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. 11. Living within your means, spending less money than you earn. 12. Type A, a personality type that is driven, ambitious, and often stressed. 13. Type B, a personality type that is more relaxed and less competitive. So, to conclude now, what can we learn from Dwayne's story and wisdom? Here are a few key takeaways. Communication is essential in all relationships, with horses, with people, with ourselves. It's never too late to change and become someone you like better. Balance is important. Different people need different kinds of balance. Small, private victories matter just as much as big, public ones. Service to others gives our lives meaning and purpose. Honesty and integrity are the foundation of a good reputation. Living within your means gives you freedom and peace. Understanding different perspectives helps us connect better with others. I hope Dwayne's story has given you some food for thought, along with some useful English vocabulary and expressions. His journey from an angry, stressed man to someone at peace with himself is a powerful reminder that we all have the ability to grow and change, no matter our age. Thank you for joining me for this episode of English with Billy. Remember, learning English isn't just about words and grammar. It's about connecting with new ideas and perspectives from around the world. Until next time, keep practicing your English. And remember Dwayne's wisdom about balance. Whether you need to work harder or relax more, find what works for you. This is Billy, signing off. See you in our next episode.